Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Increased Employee Engagement with the Community. My name is Karen Chan, and I'm on the Community Cloud Product Marketing team here at Salesforce. I'm joined by Diane Hinchcliffe, Chief Strategy Officer of 7 Summits, and Rob Hogervort, Senior Business Development Director at 7 Summits. Today, we'll discuss employee communities and walk through a live demo of a healthcare employee community so you can see it in action. Before we begin, let me cover a few quick notes. Today's webinar will be available on demand after we wrap up and accessible through the URL you're on now. So feel free to share that link directly or use the social icons at the top right of your screen. We've added some attachments which are available through the Attachments tab at the top of your screen, where you can find today's deck and related content, including our employee community demo video and our new guided tour. We also encourage you to submit questions throughout the presentation using the Ask a Question tab at the top of your screen. We'll answer as many questions as we can at the end of the presentation. Another quick note on our forward-looking statement. When considering future developments, whether by us or any other solution provider, you should always base your purchasing decisions on what is currently available. So with that, thank you all for joining us today, and let's get started. Your employees are incredibly mobile and social. They are more connected than ever in their lives outside of the workplace, and they come to work expecting the same connected, engaging experience. They want information that's relevant and up to date. They want effortless access to the different systems and apps they use every day. They want to collaborate efficiently with coworkers and subject matter experts, where everyone is working off of the same information. And in a mobile world, they want to be able to take action from anywhere. Unfortunately, legacy business technology doesn't deliver the connected, engaging experience that employees expect, and employees are less disengaged and less productive as a result. Employees expect relevant, up-to-date information, and in reality, it's hard to find the right information at the right time. Employees expect effortless access to systems and apps. Instead, they're constantly bouncing from system to system and in between apps to get work done. Employees expect open, transparent, and efficient collaboration, and in reality, the conversations are siloed, and therefore they're having the same conversations over and over again, or they're left out altogether. And employees expect to be mobile, but systems are not accessible via a mobile device, and productivity suffers. So what does that mean for you and your company? Well, when your employees have a poor, disengaged work experience, your company pays the price. According to Gallup, more than 80% of employees are not engaged or actively disengaged at work, resulting in more than $500 billion in lost productivity. Employees become disengaged as they spend more time inefficiently tracking down information, maneuvering across disconnected systems and apps. They fall out of sync with their teams and the company as they have limited visibility to the latest information. Ultimately, disengaged employees become less motivated to get work done, resulting in lower productivity. Employee community increases employee engagement by providing one platform to connect employees to the people, information, and apps they need to be productive and engaged. Employee community is one destination for employees to access everything they need to get work done and enables that connected, engaging experience that employees expect. So employees can get instant, personalized updates from the company, team, and coworkers. They can easily access all of the business apps they use every day. They can collaborate with peers on files and with business data directly in the community, and they can take action anywhere from any device. This is all in one place. What's more, employee community is built on the Salesforce Customer Success Platform, which means that your community is built on one scalable, trusted platform and completely integrated with your Salesforce and third-party data. Our customers see big improvements in implementing employee community, including 46% increase in finding experts, 46% increase in real-time feedback, 51% increase in faster collaboration, resulting in an overall 48% increase in employee engagement. So here to share thought leadership on the digital transformation of the workplace and employee communities, I'm very excited to introduce Diane Hinchcliffe, Chief Strategy Officer of 7 Summits. Diane is widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in social business, digital strategy, and enterprise IT, and as one of the top 20 people most mentioned by IT leaders. He co-authored Web 2.0 Architectures and bestseller Social Business by Design, and his thought leadership can be found on ZDNet, Information Week, eBizQ, and many more. Diane, thank you very much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for that very kind introduction. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the state of employee community. That's the platform that appears to be emerging as the leading contender for technology tools to enable employee engagement. And so let's take a little bit of time to talk about where are we with communities now. We've been developing digital communities, these online environments within our workplaces for just over 10 years now, since we've had social tools emerging and available for us to employ in the workplace. And so these digital environments can foster transparency and trust through open sharing, right? So concepts like working out loud, that's a common pattern that allows employees to kind of narrate their work, and that spreads information, that enables collaboration, allows experts to be identified. And we'll see in a few minutes that companies are seeing real benefit from this new way of working. And in fact, the model for employee communities, the most popular one is the enterprise social network. So very similar to what you might see with Facebook, not quite the same. It's adapted to the business environment. As mentioned before, it has, you can have a lot of your data and your documents all with you as you collaborate with other employees. And it's very different than email. I still see that a lot of people are not sure why is this a different way of working. And with older communication tools, you had to have perfect foreknowledge about who should be involved. And often there were far-flung stakeholders that really should have been engaged in the work process, but you just didn't know to include them. And so by the time you released the work product and they finally saw it, then you had to go back and redo it. And so we see these more open, visible, and participative environments create faster feedback loops and drive results, which we'll look at in a few minutes. But most enterprise social networks are still in the early stages. We're just getting good at working in this new way. And companies are aiming at things like collaboration, building communities of practice, so like-minded individuals can create subgroups inside a community around a certain topic, let's say, sales leadership or research and development or product support even. Getting people who are all working on the same problem, but in different parts of the organization, and all working out in the open together, sharing information rather than keeping it trapped inside of our email systems, our file systems, and other older tools that we used to use. So employee communities are used in up to 65% of organizations today. You see the data from our Gallup research on the right-hand side of this slide. And that's a pretty high watermark. It's great to see. This was almost nothing 10 years ago. That companies have kind of understood that you have to create an environment similar to what people are seeing and finding very rewarding in their personal lives. So how are employee communities being used? And specifically, can we look at the high-value activities that we can carry out of them and promote within our organization that can drive employee engagement? Gallup publishes the kind of very discouraging data every year that the vast majority of our employees are not very engaged or not engaged at all, right? So only 40% of employees in larger companies are actively and psychologically committed to their jobs. And there's a variety of reasons for that. A lot of the research shows that without understanding what the company is doing, having an understanding of how decisions are made, having more and better visibility into why things are the way they are, that leads to a lot of disengagement when people feel frustrated and they feel like they're a cog in the machine. Employee communities change all of that, right? By creating this open working environment where information flows more freely. Of course, you're still not going to release your HR activities, hiring activities, and other information, but almost all work can be shared openly. In fact, some large organizations make it hard to create private groups, so the information isn't unnecessarily hidden, right? That can lead to disengagement. So when employees can find knowledge more easily and quickly, they don't feel like there's a bunch of people in the organization who must know a lot of things, but they can't get access to them, right? That's another leading source of disengagement. And so connecting with experts, finding well-regarded people inside the organization and being able to ask questions, these directly lead to higher levels of engagement. And you can use employee communities to build consensus. too, right? So people can be more involved in the decision making more broadly. What's nice about enterprise social networks is that they tend to scale up very well, very efficiently. You can have you would never have a conference call with hundreds of people, but you can easily have a meaningful conversation with hundreds of participants to build consensus inside a community and getting everyone aligned on the same page and making sure everyone's input is heard, everyone's feelings are taken into account, and just the chance to contribute to these conversations can directly drive higher levels of engagement. And collaborating together in ways that are just not as easy. If you're not invited to the conversation in our older communications tools, then you're left out, where you can kind of see you can see key conversations and decisions being made in the company, and you can collaborate. You can join in on those conversations and get your 2 cents in, and that has real effect on whether an employee is motivated to do their job because they now feel part of the broader picture. Onboarding new workers. We're seeing a lot of companies now create communities before someone even comes inside the organization, connecting them to all the other new people who are being hired or coming on board at the same time, so that they can get their questions answered if they all have similar interests in learning how to come on board. And you can get experienced workers and ambassadors from the main organization in the onboarding community and create a much smoother on-ramp, much more effective and knowledge-rich experience for new hires. And that has, as you might imagine, a real effect on employee engagement. And open leadership is another key activity. This is something Charlene Lee wrote a tremendous book. She's a founder of the social business advisory group Altimeter. And that when leaders work out in the open, when they use their leadership skills on the network, they can share their ideas and get feedback. And when people feel like they're connected to even the very top of the organization, and there are now many good examples of C-level executives getting involved in enterprise social networks and creating the kind of trust and transparency broadly with the workforce that will drive engagement. Learning from others. Learning is kind of a lifelong activity now in our fast-paced digital world, and employee communities have the whole narrative of the entire company is inside that employee community. And you can learn tremendously about what happened and how people did things and look at successful projects because all of it is out in the open. And having access to all of that, as opposed to previously trying to find the right people and see if they can share that information with you. Yeah, that was formerly a very discouraging process. That's not that way anymore with employee communities. And lastly, you can use employee communities to shift the culture. Because we live in changing times, one of the most important activities we have to manage is how our companies are changing in this new world. With new digital technologies and the shifting geopolitical landscape, and just the increasing fast pace of times, we need a broad way of coming together and saying, who are we? What do we do? How are we going to do things going forward? And you can have that conversation. And again, that really is something that is very involving and engaging for many workers. So that's a kind of an overview of. That's not by any means all of the good use cases for enterprise social networks, but those are the ones that tend to have the most impact to employee engagement in my experience. And so let's look briefly at the known employee benefits of community. And I mentioned Altimeter, and this is some of their excellent data showing the various benefits. 42% of respondents find communities impact employee retention, some to significant. That about half find communities reduce the volume of time-consuming meetings because you're able to take these conversations in. In fact, one pattern that we've seen is something called no meetings meetings, is that you schedule a meeting and you put a link to the community conversation with the agenda. And if you can complete that agenda in the community before the meeting, then that meeting is canceled, but you get that hour blocked on your calendar so you have it back to yourself. These new types of asynchronous ways of working that community enables allows these kinds of efficiencies. 3/4 fully of respondents find communities help transform the corporate culture in a positive way. Right? That's when we talk about employee engagement, that's the meat of it right there. And 9/10 of respondents found communities impact the finding of expertise. That's pretty much the top use case, right? Be able to connect at last and see what the organization knows and be able to reach out and ask the questions and get the help that you need. And when you can do your job, when you have the ability and the autonomy to do that both, you have to have both of those, and communities make that a reality, and you feel like you can do your job at last, and you're not going to be searching for information or have to make decisions without it. That can have a real difference in workforce impact. So I've been asked over the years, does technology, can it really actually improve employee engagement? Isn't that really a people problem? It's a human issue. And what it certainly is, I've done a lot of research over the years trying to understand what are the supporting key factors that technology could help. And there really is now a belief, and the Society for Human Resource Professionals just published an article, citing, there's now over 100 companies making technology products that improve employee engagement. But really the simplest one that has the most number of use cases is the employee community. And so there's key engagement factors, some that technology and community can help with and some that can. And on this chart here, you see the red dots are by the top engagement factors. These aren't all of them, but these are the most significant factors for employee engagement. And the ones where community can help is coworker alignment. That's very important to be able to feel like you're getting along with your team. And especially as the workplace becomes more virtual and teams become more separated, this community is a powerful way of bringing that team back together and staying in frequent contact and building that kind of alignment. Having an effective workplace environment, having the right modern tools to do the job. Today's very tech-savvy workers know what's possible, and they know they're generally not getting it in the workplace. Well, by bringing in these more modern environments, you can give them that more effective workplace environment. Tools to support the work. To say, that your company is looking out for you and providing you powerful and effective tools that work better. And we saw the data that the communities very much do that. And there's many data sets out there, from MIT, Sloan Management Review, McKinsey, and others that validate, these kinds of numbers, that these tools really do support work in a better, more productive, more effective way. Having a team-based environment where that people feel like they're individual contributors and they have to do all the work themselves. That they have a way that they can work effectively, and collaboration is so important. And you saw that those top use cases earlier was communities of practice and communities of interest. This is, these are the interests people have. They want to bring together like-minded people who may not be working on the same problem, but can be thinking about it and trying to solving it at a higher level of abstraction, if you will. And then having voice and recognition. Everybody wants that. They want to be able to express their opinion about how things could be better, how things could work, and then they want recognition for things that work well. And one of the top use cases I see frequently, especially when communities are first rolled out, is executives coming in and they can praise employees. They can point out great work and say, look at what this team did. This is great. We want to see more of this as well. So use this as a model that has so much effect. That creates that connection with leadership at the top, which drives engagement. That provides recognition, which drives engagement further. It builds stronger team bonds. So these are the great things that can happen with community. So we're also seeing now as this becomes more and more strategic. It used to be really about kind of more team-based, project-based collaboration at a tactical level, that community can really overcome strategic challenges in important industries like healthcare. And we see that large organizations are facing major issues in 2016 that community can really help with in many important ways. And we see actively, I track in my practice, companies that are using community to tackle these problems. Things like performance management. When people are working out loud more, they're leaving behind data that can then be measured. And be used to drive performance. You can use analytics, social analytics, to get a sense of what your workforce community is doing, where the opportunities for improvement are, what's working well, and so on. Companies coming together in mergers and acquisitions, managing that very complicated process of knitting two companies together, two workforces together, two cultures together. Community is a fantastic way for everyone to get to know each other and to be able to do that work, stitch the two organizations together in a very inclusive, very open, and very transparent way. The challenge also is particularly in healthcare, but really in most industries, is kind of move away from paying for a service to paying for the value, as opposed to say providing a more strategic model for for pricing, saying, you're going to pay for the value of what this service is as opposed to just for this transactional service, right? So what's the overall value of the relationship, for example? So that model requires kind of very strategic rethinking of products and services, and that should be done in a very collaborative way. Retention and onboarding, we talked about onboarding already, but as we saw earlier from the altimeter data, that employee communities can directly improve employee retention substantially in most organizations. There's also a broad consumerization trend. We have to make our businesses less complex, because in a more complex world, our attention-starved customers don't have time to engage with us unless we make our services extremely easy to consume. And this is what the consumer world has discovered. If you look at sites like Google, which are excruciatingly simple, you can almost say, and you can use them without any training or any understanding of how to use them. They just work. And that process of rethinking our products and service to be consumerized is, again, a very collaborative and complex event that is probably best done in a more strategic environment. Care coordination and collaboration. Getting patients involved with all their care providers and having those care providers actually talk to each other for the first time, make sure that the patient's getting kind of a really more holistic and coordinated way of working is also the future, and Green Community is an ideal platform for that. And finally, cybersecurity, managing cybersecurity issues, which is often the top priority in terms of digital for boards of directors, is making a company very nimble and able to actively and very quickly react to cybersecurity situations as they emerge, and getting on top of a big cybersecurity event is very important from a stock price perspective, from a brand reputation perspective, and communities make a great platform for that. So in summary, modern employee communities eliminate the silos that defined the previous world of team problem solving to creating kind of a less fixed, more dynamic team that allows you to accomplish things you simply couldn't do before. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Diane. Those are some great insights and a great segue to show how these silos are eliminated in a live demo of a healthcare employee community. And here to walk us through the action is Rob Hogervorth, Senior Business Development Director at 7 Summit. Rob, thanks very much for joining us today, and take it away.
Thank you, Karen, and thanks everybody for sharing your time with us today. Just a couple quick pieces to introduce what I'm going to walk you through here when I look at an employee community. The whole goal of the community here with 7 Summits is we built this nice aggregated personal experience, leveraging our accelerators based on top of Salesforce's community solution to accelerate the implementation and to change in the adoption of the way we work. Traditionally, as Diane was mentioning earlier, all of our communications are usually done through an email type of system, text messaging, different types of silos, and then we find information, whether they're in newsletters, maybe they're in our HR systems, maybe they're in a current portal, a current project management type solution, or we go to a help desk. These are all different islands of interaction and aren't all coming together in a nice, rich user experience. This is more of your data sources where we collect and we hold data. So the whole piece that we're going to be walking you through today is all going to be about engagement. How do we now engage with this information? And we're going to look at it all from a people perspective, content perspective, and then of course by your role or where you are within the organization, whether it's a functional spot within the organization or maybe it's from a physical location. But when you think about how we interact and what we're trying to do on a daily basis, especially within healthcare, and I'm going to walk through a healthcare model, is we need to interact with each other, make decisions on information and content, create that content, and then do something with it. And today, the current islands of interactions that we have slow that process down or creates what everybody loves to see is more email in my inbox, or hey, I have another meeting about a meeting, or I need to now go to a different location to have a meeting about a meeting, which sucks up time. And it's not efficient when we look at organizations today and what we're trying to do to drive business value. So what I want to walk you through is some use cases to think about in your minds today. But when we look at the benefits of communities and some of the high use cases, it's all around corporate communications. And Diane was talking about some of the value and some of the stats that we're hearing, whether it's from Altimeter Group or it's coming out of a Gallup analysis on engagement. But it's not just, hey, let's traditional corporate communications, we're communicating from a top down. It's really about let's sharing information, but how is the organization reacting to that information and what feedback is coming back through so that we get an instant dynamic. So not only at a corporate level, but it's also from an executive level down through the chains of command, but actually getting that instant feedback all the way up. Being able to find people, easy ways, so bringing like a LinkedIn type of concept into organizations. So if I'm new to an organization or I'm looking for a specific skill set or topic, I can find that very quickly. Same with knowledge management. We have a lot of knowledge working from different groups, functional areas within an organization, but how am I sharing that and how easily is the rest of my team being able to get that information? Onboarding and training, you have new employees coming in, or when you look at mergers and acquisitions, great spot for M&A activity right now within healthcare, because you think of all those employees coming together from different health systems now into a new health system and trying to figure out what's the culture, or who do I contact that's within the same division I am or a different role, maybe at a different location. So look at bringing that together a lot quicker, reducing some of those costs. The overall collaboration through those processes. So again, it's around culture, it's engagement, mergers and acquisitions. Diane's last slide he was talking about some of those key challenges. And consumerism is a big play. And when you look at the topic of consumerism and the topic of mergers and acquisitions, sometimes those are butting heads on which one do we need to focus on right now. And it all depends on which metrics are being managed at the top. So these are all areas when we look at collaboration that really come into play in looking at making it simple. So let me walk into, and I'd like to walk you through a live example. And what I'm going to walk you through is a healthcare provider. So we're going to go through a hospital. I'm in as a chief nursing officer, name of Patrick. This is going to give you an experience of what Patrick will see. And this experience that I'll walk through will be specific to an individual within the organization. So it's personalized to, if you think of that great radio station, WIIFM, what's in it for me? So I'll be able to see what's in it for me, but at the same time, how do my teams gather information and how am I interacting with that team? How is my organization looking at its communication and share of culture and experience? And then how do my teams recognize that, and then myself and interacting? So what I'm looking at is an experience that no matter what screen size I have, so if I'm coming in from a desktop, or if I come in from a tablet, or if I come in from a mobile device, this screen size will react and move into the different medium that you're looking to experience with. So it keeps it simple to manage. So as I'm sharing content and I'm engaging, all in one place. So if I look at myself, just to give you an idea of my profile, so this is where the LinkedIn types of experience comes into play, bringing it into the organization. If anyone's looking me up, this is where I'm going to be. I can edit my own personal information, but this is what somebody's looking if they were looking for me specifically, or looking up chief nursing officer, they would find this information on me. Can find out, where my influencers are people following information that I'm sharing or content I'm providing? Are they letting or sharing things that I am knowledgeable about? So I can see, hey, here's what other people within my organization are recognizing me for. This helps me for some personal growth to say, maybe there's some other areas that I have specialty in, but people aren't understanding that or seeing it, and I want that to be recognized. So I now have an area where I can see my own personal growth. I can see what groups are top groups that I might be members within my organization. I have some of my latest files that I may have published, and then I can see some of my followers, and who am I also following within the organization, as well as what conversations may I be participating in that are relevant at this moment. So if I go back now into my homepage, now that you understand who I am, in my homepage I can see information that my organization as a whole may want to be sharing with me. So this is news. Instead of being bombarded with a ton of email that now I have to go through, great, I've got all this email from corporate communications and everybody else, where if I'm a physician in a provider and I'm trying to get to specific information, maybe it's to help a patient or a paper I'm working on or something else, and I have to go through all these emails coming in from the corporate organization, I'm going to get frustrated. Or like most organizations today, they have an assistant that's got to go through all this so that it can narrow it down specifically to that individual. This is a nice way where the organization can share, here's current information. I can see what's current that I want to be aware of on my homepage. I can see what featured events I may be part of. I can see my groups that I'm part of that are happening conversations. So I can see what are some of the top conversations of those groups. So now it directs me right to a specific topic. Maybe it's within the trauma center, as well as I can see the leaderboard. So being a chief nursing officer, I can see what other people within my organization, how they're participating. So I can see that, hey, they're answering questions, they're asking questions, sharing content, and there's points being awarded. So it's bringing some kind of game mechanics in that subconsciously people will they'll be attracted to that or look at and saying, oh, I'm getting some kind of award or recognition. And then as I move up in points, I'm also moving up in ranking so that you can start seeing who's really engaging within the organization or who's engaging as a team member from an executive or a management level. But then as a team member, and I'll go in and I'll show you a team member here shortly, I can now manage how I'm engaging and what I'm engaging with. And then I can also look at specific news items in different areas from specific locations if I wanted to. But let me give you a quick example of a day in the life if I were to accessing our system, coming into our employee community. One of the things that normally somebody's going to start doing is, hey, I need to find something. I either need to find somebody, I need to find some information or content. So if I was to say, let's look into nursing. Well, you can see right now it's coming up and showing me the last thing I looked at, which was nurse rotation. So it has a bit of a smart search there. But I'm going to pull up nurse and I'll show you how it comes back sharing information. So as a result, coming back from a nurse, it's now going to show me, hey, here's topics or discussions that are happening right now within the community on the topic of nurse. So I can see there's a discussion around nurse rotation. I can see there's some latest news from the Academy of Nursing that have been published into the community. I can see there's some events happening and there's something around nurse seminar training. And I can also see within the Boston Children's Hospital, there's some kind of discussion going on regarding nursing. Well, let's go have a quick check and have a look at what's going on from the Academy of Nursing news that's being shared. So now I can be directed right to the American Academy of Nursing, announcing some new fellowships. This is nice when you're looking at a large organization and most healthcare providers have a very significant nursing population. Now you have a way of being able to share. So if there's a specific event, not every nurse is able to attend. Maybe you have a few that are able to attend some of these events, and then they can share the information, the results back, so people can ask questions about the event. So now after that's been posted, you can see what successes are there. They can share the information. If there's some key presentations, they can now bring that back and immediately share it back with their organization. And you can see what conversations or how people are reacting to that content's been shared, as well as you can see what other news and information might be of relevant that's similar to this nursing information that I'm looking at. So if I go back and I'm looking at right now this news and announcements, let's go back over to the newsroom itself and look at how easy it is to find news, or if I'm somebody that wanted to share news and wanted to add an article, how would I do that? So to add news article, all I really need to do is click on this news article, add a title, so I can create any type of title I want. I can add some copy in here. I can choose an image if there's an image for that piece of news that I have or I'm creating, whether it's for an internal or an external event. I can add the topic area, so where within the organization does this need to be? Does it need to be associated with a group, a functional area, or overall employee communications? And these are all defined based on your organization and how you define sharing. And then this is really nice. This is an area where we can now publish and say, when do I want this information to be published? At the same time, when do I want this information to be archived? So now, unlike traditional portals where information is out there and it just keeps piling on, unless you have somebody dedicated that's constantly going in and managing that content, now the system is smart enough to take it and archive information so it's not clogging up the information source that we go through. On that same note, when we're looking at the newsroom, Let me jump into events. Very similar concept. Now I have an event on the calendar, so let's have a quick look at the Child's Play. We've got a 24-hour game show that we're hosting. Can I say I'm attending? No, or maybe it's yes. Very simple to click, and then we have, you can run reports afterwards. I can add this to my calendar just by clicking on the add to a calendar. I can see what the event's about. I can post questions about the events, and I can get responses on that event. Again, it's very simple, and if I need to edit the event or add some more details and I was the event owner, again, I can add, here's the start date, here's the end date, timing of the event, where's the event location, if there's anything to do with the venue. Again, we have the description of the event, so it keeps it very simple on managing this type of information and when it needs to be posted and when it needs to come off, so that you don't have to have somebody constantly trying to manage the relevancy of that information. One other area I wanted to show you on where this is nice and simple when you're looking at how do I access information within my community. One of the frustrating things that we hear when we're speaking with other healthcare professionals are we have so many different systems that are being put in, whether it's our new EHR system or we're updating our HR system from PeopleSoft to Workday. We have new digital tools and collaboration to all these pieces coming to us where I just need something simple to get to what I need to do today or what's most important. So with that, within this community concept, I can start, even if I didn't have something I wanted to search on, I can start on my dashboard. So this has all my pertinent links. So if I need to get back to my HR system, maybe I have a performance management system for reviews, maybe I need to find some information on Medicare services or claims or others. Maybe I'm leveraging Microsoft Outlook for my email, or I might have some other types of plugins. But anything that's hot and that's a hot link that I need to manage that's more relevant to me, I have here my links, and by very simply clicking onto this will take me out to that. Also, because of this situation, I'm logged in as the Chief Nursing Officer. I can now have notes right away on all nurses on rotation. I can look at some of my active groups. If there's any cases that I may have open or my nurses have open, I can quickly go and look at those cases as well. So let's take a look at the X-ray case. So I can say, hey, maybe I had a question or there was an issue with the system. I can post that information, the cases, or anything that's relevant to the case and when it was posted. I can see contact or confirmation of my post, as well as I can see conversations happening. So with a tech, as a result, I instantaneously can always go back to this case number, and instead of waiting for a phone call or calling back, I can constantly see what's happening and who's being involved to solve that problem with my case. Also, in the dashboard, I see you've seen the status of ideas. Ideas is a great way, especially with all the changes and all the different things from rules and regulations and compliance and mergers and acquisitions that are happening in healthcare. Ideas are a great way to keep people engaged and to help when we look at efficiencies or innovation. So I'm going to go over to ideas quickly here and walk you through what ideas will provide you. So this is a spot where people can feel part of their organization. So I can share an idea. It doesn't matter if I'm a nurse. It doesn't matter if I'm a physician. It doesn't matter if I'm an executive or if I'm working in the back office supply chain or if I'm in radiology or in the pharmacy area. You get my point. We can share ideas on ways, because we know our functional areas very well, we can share ideas back on what could help us be much more efficient. So let me go and do a quick check on one here. So just to give you an idea. So if I look at an idea, I can share in my idea. I can say, hey, wow, I've got 40 people that like my idea. Because of the ideas I'm sharing, I'm now I'm attracting other people to be following me. I can look at the status of where I am in the progress of my idea being completed or something happening with the idea. And I can see other people that are having conversations with me on my idea and wanted to share their thoughts, or other similar ideas that are coming up that could add on to my idea. And based on the idea, another big area that we're seeing within healthcare organizations are innovations. And usually we have a group that's going to be specific to innovations. So how is that different? Well, I might have a group with an innovation group that's working with other technology vendors looking at new technologies that are going to improve specific processes for our organizations and partnerships. So it may have a little bit of a different focus than ideation from internal ways of improving. But this is also an area where I could take ideas that are shared internally with our organization and then bring them into the innovation group if it's a bigger or broader idea that maybe might not be part of just a process efficiency piece. So we have groups, and these groups can now be broken down into different areas, functional areas that can be broken down to locations, but it helps members focus on information that they need to be aware of or collaborate on discussions on change or things that are happening. So it's a nice way to focus and zero in a group that you can become part of instead of having to have multiple emails, again, clogging your inbox on different topics that may not be relevant to you, but now I can zero in into specific areas. So let me show you another example of a group. That was one we're looking at from innovation. Maybe it's from the trauma center. So the trauma center is a great group here we have the trauma teams in there. There's instant conversations going on. I can see what the group is all about. I can see who some of my members are. I can also see, hey, there's some files being posted here, and I can do a quick look and see what that file is about. And I can do a quick screening of that without having to download the file back into my desktop and taking that extra time. So also we've got, let me finish up the groups with you, and you can see if there's any other records, but we can see conversations of what's happening within the trauma group and any other information that are being shared outside of my own. So in this case, we have Donnie is an assistant within the healthcare provider, also sharing some information that's relevant to the trauma group. And then this could be with links, you could add videos, you can add other pieces of content, but now it's all relevant to a specific group around a specific topic, and it can be found instantly. So whether you're in this group or if you're coming in from your overall general search, you can find it. And one last area I wanted to walk you through is to be able to show you our members. So when we think of members of an organization, I can do a search for my organization, or maybe there's some top members that are communicating and collaborating on specific topics. But this is an easy way to find out who are other members of my team, who are members at different locations that I want to get in contact with, or I need help with. So this is an example with Clifton. I can look at where areas that he's knowledgeable about. So community engagement being a topic we're discussing today. This is a simple way for me to come back in and now engage with Patrick and understand what he may have in and around community engagement. Let me finish up here on the dashboard side. Again, it's a very simple piece here, sharing information across ideas, what's important to me, what are some of my active groups, do I have any open cases? These are just a way of simply highlighting and focusing the day, as well as looking at, depending on where you are within the organization, what's important to me. And in this case, as an executive within the organization, who do I need to be communicating and motivating through our goals and objectives as this organization in the healthcare. Thank you. This was a high-level example just to show you how you can leverage communities for collaborating, communicating with your teams, communicating information and news all across people, different content within your organization, as well as from locations to save you time and effort. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Rob. That was a really, really great demo. I hope everyone enjoyed seeing the big benefits of a community and how it can increase employee engagement. We have a few other ways for you to learn more, including our employee community demo video and our new guided tour. These are available through the attachments tab at the top of your screen. So we really encourage you to take a look at them on your own time and really have the opportunity to learn more. Before we begin responding to questions, I want to remind everyone that you can continue to submit questions using the Ask a Question tab at the top of your screen. Please also take a moment after the webinar to rate this session using the Rate This button, which you'll see to the right of the Questions button. We want to make sure that our webinars offer valuable content and meet your audience expectations, and so we really appreciate your feedback. So here is our first question, and it's for Dion. One of our audience members wants to know what are the significant opportunities to really improve existing employee community implementations, and what are some of the common issues with existing employee communities, especially because it seems like there are 65% of companies that are using employee communities today, but yet there are still a vast majority of employees that are disengaged. So, Diane, what are some of your thoughts around that?
Well, so it's a great question. Just because you have an enterprise social network doesn't mean that it's being used effectively. And the real issue is that these tools are perceived as optional, and many organizations haven't really understood how to provide the proper kind of instruction and training to get the most of them. So there's two pieces really here to get more out of your existing community implementations. One, these were many online communities were developed before you really understood the issues around employee engagement. Now that's been studied very intensively the last couple of years, and it's become pretty much the leading topic in human resources because it represents so many of our workers and probably our largest untapped investment. And so employee communities can be designed to be more supportive of those use cases that I presented about online community and employee engagement and try and tackle those issues. So the open leadership pattern, for example, just getting executives involved in the social network and kind of leading out loud and accepting feedback, that can drive better employee engagement right there. Instead of people coming to work and unsure about what decisions are being made and what's going on in the organization, they get it right from leadership directly. And so aiming the community at each one of those high-value activities that drive employee engagement and doing that as part of your community management practices can dramatically help that.
Great. Thanks, Diane. Let's see. Another question that's coming in is what are some customer examples of employee community? One of the examples that we have, that's a great story, is AstraZeneca, which uses employee community to connect 60,000 employees around the world onto this one single platform. Their legacy solution wasn't mobile responsive or globally accessible, and so it was really difficult for employees to find the information they needed or connect with their colleagues in other departments and other regions, a lot of the issues that Diane and Rob have shown and spoke to today. And so what employee community did was it brought streamlined access to content, personalized content, to files and feeds, and really just engaged these 60,000 people across borders. They had 2,000 active groups, more than 3 million page views, and really just enabled people from across the entire company, across the world, to come together and stop working out of those silos. Rob, was there any other customer that you wanted to chime in about?
Yeah, thanks, Karen. I can think of several different customers leveraging employee communities, but I figured I'd share one. Rise Interactive is another example where they had content in multiple different places. So they had content based in their intranet that they had currently. They had different sites for the creative teams where they were sharing and publishing content. And they needed a way to bring that all together and centralize it, as well as understand what was happening with it and have a more efficient way of teams that were across the country and in some cases across the globe collaborate on that content. So instead of trying to find it from a system that was in North America versus one that was in Europe versus others, how do we bring all that together? And that was a great model for them to really put in a community, because now those teams were able to interact a lot more efficiently, as well as be able to find the information they were looking for.
Great, thanks. So we have time for one more question, and one that's come in is asking, if we have an employee community on another platform, can we migrate it over to Salesforce communities? The answer is yes. Salesforce can definitely help you successfully deploy a community that's on a non-Salesforce portal or even another community platform. And we have partners like 7 Summits who are here to help make that process easier. Rob or Diane, do you want to chime in a bit more about how you've been helpful or helping companies implement their employee community solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. With 7 Summits, because we've been working with communities since 2009 and have had experience with different platforms and have been able to see how communities are evolving, we're seeing a transition. We've seen organizations move back and forth between best of breeds and platforms over the last several years. But we're starting to see more of a transition into more robust customer experience or consumer experience solutions such as the Salesforce platform. And with that, we've built some accelerators to help move off of some of these other platforms so it's an easier transition so you don't lose content, conversations being shared, and who was sharing them and when those were shared from a time perspective. And I think we did a WebEx with actually Salesforce probably about 6 or 7 weeks back with Okta that you should be able to find that actually will walk you through what the transition as they were moving from a best of breed solution over onto Salesforce.
Great, thank you. So at this time, we are going to have to wrap up. Again, we have a lot of resources on our website, salesforce.com for Community Cloud. If there are any questions that you want to try to solve questions about, feel free to learn more there. Thank you very much to Diane and Rob, and for all of you joining us today. As a reminder, today's webinar will be available on demand and accessible through the URL you're on now. Feel free to share that link directly or use the social icons at the top right of your screen. We hope you'll join us again in the future, and have a great day, everyone. Thank you. Bye.